All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get kicked off here. We've got Jake Goldowski up at the front at Coach's Show for the first time this season. Let's let him hear a big round of applause here. Obviously, for Jake, this is another season for you, second season wearing a letter for the team. How would you say your role has evolved over the course of your time here in Macon?
I'd say it's evolved by when I first got in, I was trying to just kind of worry about myself and a little bit more points, but as the years went on and all that, I would say I've evolved more as a leader and trying to just, be a good team person and just try to keep everyone involved and try to have one singular cohesive unit.
Yeah, and definitely this year in particular, it's been a little bit different as well. As last year was your first season as a captain, and now you're a little bit more established. And then when Alex, we'll hear from him later, but when he went out, you were at the semicircle talking to the officials a lot more often. Even over the course of this season, how has that role changed for you?
I mean, it's definitely something different for me. Not used to that as much, but I think it helps me grow as a person and as a leader towards the team, and the coaches trust me with that.
Yeah, 100%. And, this year, talked about it, it's been a different team. And we've heard from pretty much everyone over the course of the season that was a returner about how different this team has been. But in your own words, how would you describe the difference from this team to teams past?
I'd say we're definitely more close than teams past. But I'd say we're a little bit more consistent, even though it may not show. But we are a little bit more consistent. But right now we're not, and we are working on that day to day.
From an individual perspective, you've bounced back and forth from playing up the middle, playing center, and playing on the wing, just to who's in the lineup and being flexible in that regard. Is there one that's more comfortable to you, and how are they different for people that might not know the positions as well?
I'd say center is more of more defensive responsibilities compared to a winger. Like center, you got to worry about face-offs and who's low, and defensive zone coverage is better. While winger, you kind of can, I wouldn't say cheat, but be able to gain the zone easier and all that. So I'd say it's as a center, you're definitely going to worry about more being on the defensive side compared to a winger.
And which one is more natural for you, would you say?
I'd say it's a mixture of both. I mean, I grew up playing every position, so that kind of helped, but I'd say probably a winger is more natural. I'm not the fastest guy, but working on that, and it's just easier for me to get up the ice when I'm ahead than behind.
And you mentioned the defensive responsibilities as being a centerman. You've taken a lot of penalty kill face-offs. In particular, you're just killing a lot of penalties in general over the course of the season. Talk to us about taking some pride in that throughout the course of the year.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a big part of the game. Special teams is a huge part, and I mean every single PK is do or die. At least that's our mentality for it, and you got to win every battle, and especially when you're a man down, it means more. So.
Definitely does. Man up as well. You get in time in all situations. What does this team need to do differently going into this weekend? It seems it's been a long stretch of back and forth. The team plays well some nights and some not so well. But this weekend, it's really do or die, and it's all out there for the team to go out and get it. They control their own destiny. What does the team need to do this weekend to get some wins?
I'd say, just take it one game at a time. We have the destiny in our own hands, and every game and every day is going to be a new day. So just take it one day at a time and try to focus on each shift.
Yeah, definitely. And Fayetteville is a team that Macon's gotten very familiar with, especially over the last two seasons. They're fighting for their playoffs lives just like you guys are, especially in that first game on Thursday. What are you kind of expecting to see from them this weekend?
I'm expecting to see, same old Fayetteville. They're going to try to, I would say, cheat the game, try to fly zone, try to make opportunities off our mistakes. We just have to, possess the puck well, create opportunities for ourselves, and then keep forechecking hard.
Yeah, and the team has done that against Fayetteville quite a bit this season. 5 wins over the Marksmen this season. How confident are you that the team can get the job done this weekend?
I'm very confident. We have a really tight group. We have, I'd say, good team camaraderie. So I think we're going to get the job done, not just for everyone else, but also for each other.
What are some of the best characteristics that this team has going for it?
I would say we are a pretty funny group, but we're also very, very tight and just, trying to make each other better each and every day.
100%. Anybody here at Fatty's have anything for Jake? And we'll also open online. Last Coach's Show of the year, so don't be shy. Got one in the middle.
The conversations you guys have with Brett, so when you go from Friday night with Justin's hit,
I mean, it goes back and forth. Honestly, it just depends on what they think of you. Never can change their mind, but you can always just put your input and try to, I wouldn't say convince them, but try to think of different ways of protecting the players that are on the ice.
Anybody else have anything for Jake? No? All right, well, let's let him hear it. Thank you for a great season that's not quite over yet, Jake, but a great show as well. We'll take a quick break and then have Captain Alex Cohen up at the front. All right, everybody, we've got the captain of the Mayhem, Alex Cohen, up at the front. Let's let him hear it for a good season so far. Like I said, with Jake far from over, but 3 games left in your first season as the captain, a little bit different from Jake. How would you describe it?
You know, I've had a blast this year. We have, like Jake said, we have a really close team, and it's definitely been a huge learning experience for me, being a captain. Last time I had a leadership role was in junior hockey, so it's been a little while, but yeah, it's been great.
That's really cool. And how do you think that your first season as a captain went? You mentioned it's been a little bit, so transitioning back into that role within a team.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a learning experience, but sorry about that.
You're good.
But I have a great leadership group with me. Jake, Parker Allison, Josh Boyko, and they make my job a little bit easier. And the guys are great, and they're understanding of what needs to be done from a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, 100%. And then in the games as well, hopefully the season's far from over, but what have your biggest takeaways about the year been?
We have a really close team, and at times we show it in games. We show it off the ice all the time, but I think we need to really focus on showing that in games and being consistent for a full 60 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. No time like the present as well. Yep. So talked about it earlier. This is your second appearance on the Coach's Show.
Yep.
But for those that might have missed it, when you were on injured reserve with that injury that you had earlier, what were some of the most important things for you to make sure that you were doing to stay ready and stay close with the team within a leadership role as well?
Showing up to practice, helping the coaches out whenever I could. I did some video, helped the guys on the power play out, showing them video in practice. Personally, I try to keep my conditioning up. After practice, I'd go out there, skate lines. I worked with our athletic trainer, Keith Kling, in the gym, riding the bike, working on, different things to get my hand, ready to play.
So about that, from an individual standpoint, obviously the tough injury kept you out for a little bit, but for you personally, how do you feel that this season went?
I'm a little disappointed. Can't lie, with I would say my production, but that's not the whole game. It's doing the little things right, and that was one of the reasons I was given a leadership role this year. The start of the year, I talked to Dave about it, and he said, I'm a lead by example sort of guy, so trying to just, do the little things right, stay out on the ice late, get guys to work on things after practice, with me, or just see me doing that, and hopefully they can replicate it.
Yeah, and definitely can attest. That's something that a lot more have done as the season has gone along. Sure. How have you guys made sure to make new additions welcome? There's been a lot, especially over the last couple weeks. It's such an important time in the season. How do you make sure that every single person in the locker room is integrated?
Yeah, definitely a quick turnaround for, Davis Gockler and, Stewie, who we just got. It was his first practice today, and just kind of making them feel welcome, acclimate them to the group, get them in the group chats, whether it's going out to lunch with the guys or just hanging out, just things like that. And obviously not too many games left in the season, so it's kind of hard, but I think, as a group, we've been able to welcome like each guy like throughout the entire year, like pretty quickly. So
that's great, obviously. This is a very young team as well. A lot of guys in their first or second season. Does that change anything for you from a leadership standpoint?
yes and no. I mean, I think most guys, that we have on our roster have been in leadership roles before. I like, the saying, it's new, not young, because we're all adults here, and, we're all pros, whether it's your first year, your fourth year, your fifth year. But I think we have, a great group of guys who are all leaders in their own way.
Yeah.
So it definitely helps.
Definitely. One last question before we open the floor. Kind of similar to how we close things off with Jake. Why would you say that the Macon Mayhem are a playoff team?
I think we have a relentless group. We have a no-quit mentality, and like I said earlier, and Jake said, we need to be consistent for a full 60 minutes, and I think we can do it, and I know all the guys believe in it. We've done it before, and I think we're going to go into this weekend and we're going to show it.
Absolutely. Anybody have anything here for Alex? We got some online as well. One says, as captain, how are you going to motivate the guys to leave it all on the ice over the next couple games?
Our backs aren't against the wall, but they are, and it's a do-or-die mentality, and we're fighting for our lives here. And I know all 20 of us or 19 of us don't want the season to end. We don't want to go home. So it's kind of that's a motivating factor. So
definitely. One more says, how did you get the nickname DJ Cobra?
So when I was in college, my coach loved giving out nicknames, and I guess there was a car, he likes cars, and there's a car called the AC Cobra, so he started calling me Cobra. And on the side, I dabble with DJing. I like house music a lot, and I've done it for the guys like a couple of times this year, so guys just started calling me DJ Cobra at school, and a couple of guys just caught on to it here and started calling me that.
I don't know how many people know that you also made the warm-up mix that they hear whenever they come into the building this season. Yep. So definitely did a very good job with that as well.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else got
Thank
anything
you.
for Captain Alex?
To keep the pace, like throughout the game, drink a lot of water, work on breathing. I actually was fortunate enough growing up to go up to Toronto to train in the summers with Gary Roberts, and one of the things we worked on, like away from the weight room or away from the ice, was breathing, like deep breathing exercises. And whether it's like an icing or it's I get off the ice or there's a penalty kill and I'm going out there again, I just focus on like breathing and getting my heart rate lower. I wear a Whoop band too, so I'm able to see, each period, like when my heart rate spikes and whatnot. I try to see, when I'm on the ice or when I'm on the bench, and try to focus on that. Yep.
Got a couple more for you. One says, who is your favorite roommate?
I'd have to say Hannah Sinner is my favorite roommate.
I'm sure she will like that. Last one here before we get Coach up, and says, what are your favorite pre- and post-game dinners? Or I guess meals.
I would say my favorite pregame meal has to be chicken, pasta, and broccoli. Sometimes with tomato sauce, sometimes not. Depends on how my stomach's feeling. And then post-game, I like to carb load. Sometimes it's pizza. Sometimes it's the same thing that I had for pregame meal, or like the leftovers. Sometimes Chipotle. Kind of depends on how I'm feeling, how the game went the night before. I'm pretty superstitious with it, so.
That's good. All right, everybody, let Alex hear it. Obviously, a great job this season and tonight as well. We'll get Coach up here in just a second. All right, everybody. For the final time this season, we've got Coach Pszenyczny at the front. Definitely glad to have him here, and a huge series against the Marksmen coming up this weekend. Obviously, it's a big series, but we've been talking about big series for a couple of months now. How much added weight can it even have, given the fact that this team's been playing playoff hockey for about a month now, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think the consistency of our team is being inconsistent, and take that as tongue in cheek, but it's kind of true. And I think when we were kind of dissecting how things were going to go before Christmas, we were anticipating 500 hockey wouldn't make playoffs, and here we are, and might be the truth. About going into Fayetteville, I think it's kind of unique knowing that Thursday's game is a rescheduled game that could have happened earlier in the season, and shoulda, woulda, couldas. It is what it is, and it is do or die, but also at the same time there's a little breathing room. But I think we're kind of expiring on our opportunities to get the job done.
Definitely. Running out of time for sure. We had 4 new guys inserted into the lineup since the last time we talked here. We'll go one by one, starting with Caden Henry. Obviously, 7 games, 6 goals. I mean, what more can you say from what he's provided from an offensive standpoint this far?
Yeah, I think whenever you make any transactions or moves, you always want to bat 1,000, but he's been a blessing in disguise for us, but also at the same time, it's kind of, we were hoping that was going to put us a little bit more as like a secondary scoring, and it just seems like our primary has dried up. So now he's our primary scoring.
Fair enough. Next up, Cooper Fensterstock. He was the one deadline acquisition in terms of true trade deadline acquisition. I've thought he's been solid so far. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, no, we were moving a piece that didn't want to be here, so you might as well get something, otherwise you're not getting anything and that kid's season's done. So it's better to just move somebody that doesn't want to be here. We saw an opportunity to kind of bulk up front and just add some more depth, and he's had some success as well. Maybe taking a little bit more time to get caught up on everything system-wise, but in the long run, we know where we could put him and inject him.
Yeah, 100%. The lone addition on the back end since we last talked, Davis Gockler playing his first 3 games this past weekend. Very late in the season for him to get acclimated, but what have you seen from him, and what did you see on tape that made you want to bring him here?
Just composure and poise with the puck, making simple plays, sound defensively. Obviously it's still a transition from college to pro, but I think it's quite easy for him, playing Division I 3 years, then transferring over to a Division III school, adds to that, in his resume. And, when we look at their resume, everybody, the secret's out, it's elite prospects, but also, too, with technology, using Instat, being able to watch the guy, actually play his shifts and see where he's good and where he's, lacking. We didn't see much lacking. We just saw really good poise, and then it's starting to transfer over for us.
For sure it is. Final one who has not yet to play a game is Tyler Stewart, who was picked up this past weekend. That was a mid-weekend move, actually claimed him from Knoxville, and he didn't make the trip with Knoxville to play here. So what did you see from him in limited action so far over the last month or so that made you want to insert him into the lineup?
I mean, we've been lacking in goal scoring, right? And we get Caden Henry, and he does what he does, right? No different than when we got Michael Herrera earlier in the season. But it goes back to our primary scoring drying up, and now these acquisitions are now becoming our primary, not our secondary. That kind of would put us a little bit more ahead in games than where we previously were. But it seems like we're back at square one. And the kid's first 5 games, he had 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. Goes to play Peoria. Obviously, they had 1 goal on the weekend in 3 games, so I mean, kind of tough, so now you're not a point-a-night guy, but, if we would have had the job done by now and solidified a playoff spot, probably roster moves don't have to be made, but at the end of the day, fellas, it is what it is, and we got to make moves to improve our team, and if it means bumping somebody out, It is what it is. And, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if the job were done, then we probably don't make moves.
Fair enough. So talking about those 4 guys, team as a whole, how do you feel about where your lines are at right now after what this past weekend had in store?
Yeah, we did a little bit of mixing later on Saturday, more on Sunday. And sometimes there's ebbs and flows of the game, and sometimes you see some chemistry, or maybe you're on the bench and, these 2 guys didn't have a good shift, but this one did, but these 2 guys did, so you try to see if those will click, and, sometimes that's a hit, and sometimes it's a miss, and, maybe there's something that they're lacking in the defensive zone as a group, because you got to be well balanced in this game nowadays, as much as we put the emphasis of being in the offensive zone. If you can't play in the other end, then I can't have you 3 together, right, up front. Same thing with the back end, too. So, no, it would have been nice to be able to juggle a little bit more for game reps, but now it's crucial. Thursday's our main focus right now.
100% it is. We saw on Friday a team that looked pretty dominant going up 4-0. We've seen that dominance a couple of times throughout the season against really good teams as well, like Huntsville and even teams like Evansville. Why do you think it has been a struggle to have that type of performance consistently?
Well, I think everybody can relate to being comfortable, and you kind of get away from what makes you successful, and you start slacking in certain areas and getting away from the details of your game, and I think it's human nature. But I think when you resort back to the basics, what we've been doing this past week so far in practice, it's you start to see it a little bit more, but then it's back to the old, okay, well, we've had success this way, why are we now trying to challenge 3 guys at the blue line instead of just putting it into an area to keep puck possession? A little bit more detailed than probably most people think, but we want to play a high puck possessive game with speed, and sometimes we, for lack of a better word, just do bonehead plays that don't make sense, and it doesn't fit our narrative, right? And then the next shift, that guy's frustrated, and then you see it on our power play on Sunday where we couldn't even get the puck off the yellow, and it's like, love that if we're on the penalty kill and the power play wants to play on the yellow, love it, because their backs are turned to interior, they can't make plays, and we just didn't play very well.
Moving forward to this upcoming weekend, the next 2 games on the slate for the entire league, not just the team, are Macon at Fayetteville on Thursday and Friday. Those are the first 2 puck drops in the league. Taking care of business in those 2 games is obviously very important, but afterwards, how much scoreboard watching is there going to be going on? I
mean, I guess there will be some from the hockey ops part, but, at the end of the day, we control our own destiny, and, if we do our job, that puts pressure on other teams. If we don't do our job, that kind of allows teams to play a little bit more lax. I think Thursday night's just the most important night, and in the aspect of eliminating a team from playoff contention. And I'm old school when it comes down to putting somebody away. You put them away. You don't give them a second opportunity. And I think we've given this team too many opportunities. We didn't get the job done last time we were there, especially after dominating them the Friday night at home and walking off the ice second period, and the shots are 28-7. It's a little discouraging when you're coming home with your tail between your legs, losing, whatever the score was, 5-1, 6-1. So, no, it's just time to man up.
100%. What are your expectations to get from a desperate Fayetteville team this weekend?
I think we're going to see, just them playing desperate. Their game on Saturday night, they absolutely outworked the power play in Roanoke, who typically has a pretty good power play. Scored a shorthanded goal, and then ended up killing 2 5-on-3s back-to-back in the third period. That's a desperate team.
Yeah, 100%. Why do you believe that this team in particular can make a run?
We've shown it. We've shown it. There's only one team we haven't played. And I think at the end of the day, it's how we play, and when we truly trust each other and trust the system, that's when we're at our best. And then we could be creative, and you see our highlight reel goal on Friday night where we have a nice entry to a net drive, spinorama, because the guy's trusting that guy's there. But we can't get there if we don't, force teams to back off the blue line. So, at the end of the day, it's on the fellas to get the job done. And, we've heard it that they're so close, so they got to show it on the ice, not just off the ice.
Last time we'll be here at Fatty's Pizza this season, regardless of how deep into the postseason the team goes. What has it been like coaching this group compared to in years past?
Every year when you, acquire a group or build a group, it's always unique. And for the most part, I'd like to think we brought in great human beings, and some of the transactions we have to make are not easy. But at the end of the day, there's a job, and I think guys are figuring it out. We do typically have a younger group when it comes to experience playing pro games, but at the end of the day, it's a fun group to be around. I learn more from them than they probably understand that I do. That's probably why I ask them so many rhetorical questions. But no, they're a good, fun group.
For sure. We've got a couple of questions online. We'll also open the floor up in here. One about what can be done to get the power play going, which I'll come to bat for you a little bit. And it's scored in 3 straight games up until Sunday. But
yeah. I mean, I'm at a loss, too. I mean, I think, you watch a lot of hockey at different levels, and I think a lot of power plays forget that you got to shoot the puck with traffic and clean up rebounds and secondaries. And I think everybody looks for the pretty, one-timer seam pass through sticks that can only be opened up when you get them running around. The best way to create chaos is to shoot pucks, right? Because don't know where the rebounds are going to get on. And, at the end of the day, you got to have some skill players playing in those positions. And, we've acquired some of them. And, at the end of the day, it's going to be a tight leash from here on out because the guys that we have brought in recently are the ones producing. And we've had guys here for all season on the power play and just not getting the job done. So.
We've got another question about the transaction from yesterday. Just obviously a tough move to let someone go that's been here for the entire season, but give a little bit more insight into why that decision was made.
We're lacking in goal scoring. And we saw an opportunity to get better in that, and I could just leave it at that.
Anybody else have anything here for Coach? Got one in the back.
So Friday night, the NCAA understood the goal, no goal thing. What did you see on the ice versus what the refs were telling you? And do those conversations end up just going up the flagpole and then the league discusses it on like how we proceed? Because some people have goal and some people don't.
The question was about the goal, no goal on Friday night that ended up being called no goal.
We've had so many different explanations on goals not being called, goals, being called that weren't goals, and you're just never going to get it right, I guess, as an official, and they're just never wrong. It's frustrating when you see it waved off, then pointed at as a goal, only to be told that it wasn't a goal after they talked to the goal judge, which they're supposed to do, right? I'm a big believer in officiating, exhausting all your options, come to the best conclusion, and if that's what you come to, then it is what it is. Well, I didn't like the fact that I know the rule as an official, and I don't know if many know this, that when you talk to an off-ice official or goal judge, you can only ask yes or no questions. So I presented that to the official first and foremost. I said, you can only ask yes or no questions. Because he said right off the bat, he goes, there was uncertainty from the goal judge. And I said, the thing about yes or no questions. So he comes back and he says, first question I asked him was it a goal? He said yes. His next question to the official was, did it hit the back bar? Or sorry, it wasn't that. It was, how did it go in? So that's not a yes or no question. So the off-ice official says, I think it hit the back bar. So there's the uncertainty, which the official's correct. There is uncertainty because it's not for sure. But if it's a yes or no question, did it hit the back bar? Yes. Okay. then it's a good goal. But you can't ask a question that doesn't have an answer with yes or no. So I got a little upset.
Anybody else have anything for Coach? Last chance. Got one on the side. I couldn't quite hear. I heard the last part about being more focused on the road than at home. I couldn't make out the first question.
So the first part was, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was like having a record that we have and we haven't clinched a playoff spot yet.
Oh yeah, it's been a little bit since that's happened. Yes.
And I think that attests to maybe looking into what the Federal Hockey League does with a 3-point system by 3 points with regulation wins and then 2 and 1. Yeah, there's been a lot of teams that have gone into, or a lot of games that have gone into extra time, so everybody's getting a loser's point at that point. And, yeah, it is. It's crazy. But, we were telling the team back at Christmas time that 500 hockey might not make it, and here we are. And then the second part of that, I'm losing my train of thought.
More focus on the road.
Oh, more focus on the road. Yeah, I think as a player, as an athlete, it's a lot easier to get up for games on the road because you don't have to put on a show. You kind of use the building as like a motivation, right? Like when we went to Huntsville, yeah, we know they're going to have a sellout crowd or near sellout crowd, and you just want to shut them up, as an opponent and as a visitor. And I think our team does a very good job at that for the most part. And yeah, I think we play our better hockey on the road, and I think our record at home and away speaks for itself.
And one in the back.
You had a lot of good conversations with the officials Friday and Saturday night. Alex's hit a rough fake at the end of the period. You started counting. I guess what was that conversation like? And are those your two just favorite officials to discuss with? Because there was lively debate on the ice.
So I was pointing out that they already had 6 on the ice. That was something that I pick up when I'm watching pre-scouting games. Like I said, I'm very detailed when it comes to the game. I'm always harping on stick positioning, taking away passing lanes. Having your stick on the ice is a detail. So when I'm pre-scouting, I notice line changes. And typically in the second period, there's always the lazy line change where there's a person still about center ice dot, and that player that they're changing for is already on the ice. So I always notify the linesmen because that's their call. Right? They got to be making sure that there's not more than 5 on the ice at a certain given time. And what frustrates me is when I point that out and it happens once, twice, and now we're at a situation where, hey, if things go sideways here, there's 6 of them, 5 of us. This isn't going to be a fair fight. So that was just kind of confirming what I had mentioned at the beginning of the game.
Anybody else? Last chance to ask anyone. Yes.
I had a question. Jake and Alex both mentioned that the team was closer this year. And from the stands, that's very evident. I mean, you see things from this team that we didn't see necessarily in the past, like the grit and resiliency. I think a few times they come back and win, but it just didn't look like it was going to happen. Specifically on Friday night, early in the game, there was a point we had a 3-on-1, and it was on the right lead, and they bent the bird all the way across the ice, and it was such a good pass. I'm jumping out of my chair, and I think Carefree scored. It was so pretty to watch, in the first place. Those are things we just haven't seen a lot in the past, so I feel like we're watching something build. The question is, if you identify a player that you want to have, I mean, so much of the game is not what's on your skates, but what's in your head. What is it you look for? What's the one attribute that you value over everything else?
Summing it up is what kind of attributes you value when you're looking for a player, correct? That's what I gathered.
Yeah. So first and foremost, like passing the eye test as far as compete, back checking, Just selfless acts when it comes to that. I just saw a stat that the first NHL player. Have you
I know
seen
exactly
this?
what you're talking about.
There was an NHL player recently say 50 plus games without a hit. This is true, yeah. A guy plays on Anaheim, and it just boggled my mind that we've gotten so far away of how the game's meant to be played. So that's what I look for. I look for the grit, and we had some players probably here, rookies last year, that really weren't used to that type of style, but once they started playing that, they started seeing more puck possession, more turnovers, more time in the offensive zone. Because let's face it, the game's gone so far finesse that the grit's starting to come back, and you're starting to see it more and more at every level. They're not looking at the phenom 12, 13-year-old anymore. They're waiting until they get about 16, 17, 18 to now pass judgment on, okay, well, you went from not hitting at this level, yeah, you have a lot of points, well, now go play against some men that actually go through body. And we're still not caught up to that era of the 90s and early 2000s of physicality and all pro hockey. But you sure notice those guys when they're out there. I mean, they make a huge difference. I would like to think that opponents know when those players are on the ice, because when you take the game of hockey, it's just the difference of eliminating time and space. And I say this to all the players, and I'll say it again. You take an average player, you give him time and space, he becomes great. You take away his time and space as an average player, he becomes poor. That's all it is, right? You're just eliminating time and space in the game of hockey and how quickly you're going to do it. And sometimes that doesn't even have to end up as physicality. It could just be where your stick positioning is, where your angling is. But at some point, even if you have the stick and the angling, you're still going to have some body contact at some point. And then at the end of the day, when it comes down to grits, that's my puck, not yours. Even though you possess it, I'm taking that from you. That's what I look for. And I think we've gotten away from that, and it's such a submissive game that it's so passive, and that's why it looks so fine and polished at certain levels. Whereas, I was just watching an American League game the other day, and I felt like I was watching junior hockey. It's like it's nice to see these nice crisp passes, but it's not what the game's meant to be played like. It's supposed to be a raw, emotional game of physicality, but that's probably just the old school in me.
We've got one online asking about the mentality behind pulling the goaltender. That's one that I've heard more in the last couple of years than before, so I figured I'd give you the opportunity to address it.
I think it's kind of taboo because when you pull and you get scored on so quickly, you don't look good, but I've seen coaches pull at 7.5 minutes and look like geniuses. And actually, with the goalie pulled, the percentage of scoring is very, very minimal. Very, very minimal. But at the end of the day, you're giving yourself an opportunity to make a stab at it. There's probably some times where I go with my gut feeling on how we've been possessing the puck. And take, for instance, Sunday. We were not establishing any ozone time. But there became a certain point in time where I'm like, something needs to change here, right? So, I could dissect that whole play where we still should have kept the puck in the zone, but it didn't happen. So in that instance, I'm just looking for any spark, right? If we get a goal off of that, great. Now it's a 2-1 game. We still have enough time to get the job done. And there's other instances too. I mean, I've pulled when it's been 4-on-4 and I pulled the goalie, we're down a goal, right? Why? Because I want 5 guys versus 4. Right? You have a power play. So, I think that's very taboo. There's no right or wrong. I've read into it. I've researched it. I think every coach kind of gives a different answer. But, for me, it's kind of like the feel for the game and how everything's been going. If we're possessing and we're all over a team and we're peppering the goalie and we keep getting ozone face-offs, I'll probably pull a little bit earlier than normal. But, Sunday's game, I was just like, we got to throw something out there to try to break this up and try to make a game of it. And obviously they buried the empty netter.
Anybody else before we wrap things up here? No? Last call. All right, everybody. It's been a great stretch of coaches shows here at Fatty's Pizza. Definitely appreciate them for all that they've done for us. Oh, one more at the horn.
I'm probably focusing too much on my allergies right now that I normally don't have. So that's probably part of it. But I think as a coach, I know Taylor and I talk quite a bit. You don't turn it off, even though you try to. Trying to spend time with family just to kind of get away from the game and kind of reset a little bit. But, if I haven't been thinking about Thursday since Saturday night, I'd be lying to you. So, no, it's very hard. And sometimes just stepping away, you get a clearer mind. You'll come back and, take for instance, if I was thinking about the power play and I've been dissecting it and doing this and that, and I'm still overcomplicating it, and I keep going back and, maybe this piece or do this, and then if I just take a day away from it and then come back, it's like, it's all clear now, right? It's never easy.
Well, we definitely appreciate you guys showing up and showing out tonight for sure. You can catch all 3 games this weekend on Flow over at Taco Mac if you would like, and definitely want to give Coach a round of applause for what's been a great season so far. Like we've said, far from over, but we appreciate you guys being here and appreciate all the hard work. Thank you.